Hi, welcome once again to another new video. This is Santu Sahu and you are watching Sahu's tutorial. In this YouTube video, I will be covering African American literature. Here, I also discuss some important authors and their major works will be covered as well. So watch the video till the end because it's going to be a very fruitful session. This is the part 1, and before starting the session, I would like to request all of you, please do subscribe my channel and stay tuned with my channel. So here is your first slide. It is a blank page. I will write down all the key points. If you want to write down in your copy, you can write down here. So this is a kind of rapid revision. So let's start. So here we will deal with here, that is African American literature. African American literature. African American literature. Okay. Now the first thing that comes to our mind is that who are the African American people? Now the African American people are those black people who were living, who were living in America, But what happened? What happened? Those black people were mistreated as slave. So black people were mistreated as slave. So there were a lot of suffering, lot of agonies and their pains. So those pains, suffering and agonies have been depicted in their writings, and then comes out your African American literature. So the African American people are black and they are mistreated by the Native Americans. So the Native Americans has not treated well those black African people who were living in America, and Africans were here actually treated as slaves. And the problems of those African slaves or the people living in America have been depicted in their writings. And this is how the African American literature begins. So the first writer here is your, that is Toni Morrison, the major writer of African American literature is here Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison is the major writer here, and Toni Morrison, and she was born in the year 1931. She is still alive. Okay. Now Toni Morrison got the Nobel Prize in the year 1993. So in the year 1993, she got the Nobel Prize. Okay. Now her major works are here. The first important work is The Bluest Eye. The bluest eyes here, and this Bluest Eye was published in the year 1970, and it actually, so the Bluest Eye is the first work written by Toni Morrison, and it takes place in, the setting was in Loren, Loren, Ohio. This is the hometown of, this is the hometown of of Toni Morrison, hometown of Toni Morrison. So here it was a setting Loren or Ohio, and it tells the story of Pecola. So Pecola is the protagonist here. Pecola is the protagonist of that novel, The Bluest Eye. Okay, protagonist here, and Pecola is here treated as ugly. Pecola here treated hmm, treated as ugly, and that's why she here develops an inferiority complex. She develops an inferiority complex. Okay, and for that reason, she now here is desiring. Now see here, desires for what? Desires for the blue eyes, the blue eyes. Now the here the main character Piccola, who is here desiring for what? Desiring for bluest eyes or the blue eyes. That's how the title comes, and is trying to equate, and she is trying to equate herself with whiteness, with with whiteness. So this is, so he is now here, she is now here trying to equate herself with whiteness. So here it is the story of Pecola. She is being treated as ugly due to her black skin. And that's why she here develops inferiority complex. Now here she is desiring for the blue eyes and is trying to equate herself with whiteness. This is the story of the bluest eye that is published in the year 1970. So now move to the next major work, that is the Sula. Sula is another famous work written by Toni Morrison that was published after 3 years of the first publication. That was first work was published in the year 1970, and this work was published in 1973. Sula. So Sula, you know, the title of the character is Sula Peace. It is the story of here Neil Wright, Neil Wright, Wrigst, and Neil Wright and Sula Peace, Sula, Sula Peace. Okay, so Sula Peace, Peace. So here Neil Wright and Sula Peace. It is the second novel written by Toni Morrison, and here is the bottom. The bottom is the mostly black neighborhood on the hill. So there is a black neighborhood called the bottom, Bottom, on hill. This is the black neighborhood. Now what happened? Neil Wright here decided to marry and have children and stay in the bottom, and believes deeply in social conventions. On the other hand, Sula here leaves the bottom for a period of 10 years. What happened? Sula here, okay, is now Sula has left the bottom. Okay, here he has left the bottom for 10 years. But what happened after 10 years? Okay, she has returned to that neighborhood, black neighborhood, that is called the bottom. Okay, now Sula is the very personification of evil here. Okay, hmm. the town regards Sula as the very personification of evil. So Sula is thinks that, okay, the town is actually a very personification of evil. And another character is Shadrach, S-H-A, so Shadrack, Shadrach, a character who invents National Suicide Day. Shadrach is the another character who in this novel invents what? National uh, suicide, what? National Suicide Day. Okay. So, what we came to know is that Sula published in 1973. In this novel, there are two important characters. One is Neil Wright, another is Sula Peace, where Neil Wright Neil Wright always wanted to stay that bottom neighborhood, but Sula Peace wanted to go away from that bottom neighborhood, and she went and she lived for 10 years, but she returns back, and she says that, okay, that the town is symbolic of evil. And another character is the Shadrach, where the Shadrach, who has invented National Suicide Day in that novel. So next famous work is Song of Solomon. It is Song of Solomon. Song of Solomon. Solomon, this is a famous important work written by Song of Solomon. This is the first work where Toni Morrison has used the male narration. So here for the first time Toni Morrison has used the male narrator. So it uses the example of male narration. Male narration. Male narration. Now here it follows the life of whom? It follows the life of Macon Milkman. Macon. Macon Milkman. Macon, M-I-L-K. Macon Milkman Date. Macon Milkman Date 3. This is the name of the character, who is an African American man living in Michigan from birth to adulthood. So this is the story of Macon Milkman Date 3. In the opening of the novel, we find that there is the death of in the opening of the novel we find okay the opening of the novel we find that there is the death of Robert Smith. So Robert Smith is here dead here. Who is dead? Robert Smith, who is an insurance agent and a member of the 7 Days, an organization that kills white people in retaliation for the racial killing of blacks. So in the opening of the novel we came to know that Robert Smith is dead, who is an insurance agent and a member of the 7 days. And the 7 days is a kind of organization that kills white people, okay, in retaliation for the racial killing of blacks. Now another important character is here, that is you have that Ruth Foster Date. Ruth Foster Date. Another important character is here Ruth Foster Date of that novel. Ruth Foster Date is another important character. Now, who gives birth to a child and becomes the first African American woman to give birth in a hospital. So Ruth Foster Date is the lady. She becomes the first. She becomes the first Afro, the first, the first, yeah, Afro-American, Afro-American women, Afro-American women to give birth in a hospital, to give birth in a hospital. So who was that? Who was she? She was Ruth Foster Date. Ruth Foster Date. Okay, here Macon Date third is the son of Ruth Foster Date. So Ruth Foster Date is the person who gave birth, whom Macon, you have Macon Milkman Date or Macon Date here. Macon is another, this is the another name of Macon Date or nicknamed as Milkman. Macon Date, and he is also nicknamed as here, it is Milkman. Okay, okay. Now and here the Solomon is the great grandfather of Macon. Who is the Solomon? The titular Solomon here. Titular Solomon is the great great grandfather grandfather of Macon Date or Macon Milkman. Okay, Solomon is the great grandfather of Macon, hmm, who here refused slavery and returned to Africa. The first novel here, where here in that Toni Morrison is using what male narration. Okay, so who was Solomon? Solomon was the great grandfather of Macon. Okay, moving to the next important work of Toni Morrison is Tar Baby. Tar Baby. Tar Baby, published in the year 1981. 1981. So this is actually a love affair, love affair between whom? Between and Jadine and son. So Jadine here, they are two black Americans from very different worlds, whereas and Jadine is actually a beautiful fashion model. Jadine here is a fashion modeler. Okay, fashion model, and son is a very poor man, who is very poor man. So there is a love affair between Jadine and son. And for this work, for tar baby for tar baby for tar baby Toni Morrison has remarked or written that for me the tar baby, he says that for me the tar baby came to mean the black women, came to mean the black women, the black women who can hold HOLD, who can hold things together, who can hold things together. So for this work, Toni Morrison has said that the tar baby came to mean the black women who can hold things together. Okay, for this one, for this tar baby, Toni Morrison has written. Okay, now comes the famous important one, that is the Dantesque trilogy, that is the Beloved, Paradise, and Judge. Here is the Dantesque trilogy. DNTSQUE, Dantesque trilogy. And in the Dantesque trilogy, there are three novels. First one is you have Beloved. First one is Beloved. Second one is Paradise. And the third one is Judge. So there are three novels: Beloved, Paradise, and Judge. Beloved. Now come to the first novel, Beloved here. Beloved that was published in the year 1987, and it is actually inspired by the life of Margaret Garner. So inspired here by the life of whom? By the life of here Margaret Garner. Margaret Garner. Okay, Margaret Garner, who was an African American who escaped slavery in Kentucky, and Morrison had come across an account of Garner, that is a visit to the slave mother who killed her child, and that novel won her the Pulitzer Prize. Okay, and for this novel, that is The Beloved, she got the prestigious Pulitzer Prize here, Pulitzer Prize. For which work Toni Morrison uh, got the Pulitzer Prize, that is for Beloved, where it is inspired by the life of Margaret Garner, who was actually an African American who escaped slavery in Kentucky. And actually the novel here begins here in 1873 in Cincinnati, Ohio, where the protagonist Seth, a former slave, has been living with her 18 years old daughter Denver and baby Stark's mother-in-law. So here, this is the story of the who is the protagonist of Beloved. Beloved's protagonist here, Beloved's protagonist is Seth, A-C-T-H-E, Seth. So it is in beginning in the Ohio city, where Ohio, this is the hometown of Toni Morrison. Okay, where she is living, who is a former slave. Said is a former slave. He is a former slave. Now she is here living with whom? Living with 18 years old daughter Denver, and baby Snacks mother-in-law. They live at 124 Bluestone Road. So where do they live? So this is the name of that the house, that is 124 Bluestone Road. 124 Bluestone Road is the name of the house where Seth, the main protagonist of the novel Beloved, lives. And the story here opens with an introduction to the ghost. That is a 124 was spiteful. 124 was spiteful. Hmm. Full of babies venom. Full of babies venom. Full of babies venom. Okay. So this is how this novel opens. That is 124 was spiteful, full of babies venom. Okay. What happened 16 years before Seth killed her infant daughter? So Seth, Seth here killed, hmm, killed 16 years ago. 16 years ago 16 years ago, her infant her infant her infant daughter her infant daughter, hmm, to escape the slavery to escape the slavery to escape the slavery. Said had killed 16 years ago her infant daughter. Okay, that's why it's a kind of okay mysterious story here. Slavery. Okay, and Paul D. Garner, one of the slaves from Sweet Home, arrives Seth's home and become couple. Now the ghost disappears, but Denver here becomes unhappy. A strange woman named Beloved comes to live with them. Okay, so here, so the title are Beloved. Here, Beloved is a strange woman. Beloved is a strange woman. Is a strange who now has come to live with Seth. Beloved is a strange woman who has now comes to live with them, and Seth actually agrees to live with Beloved here. But this strange lady's name is the same of the dead or the murdered daughter. Okay, so Beloved was the name of her own daughter, that is Seth's daughter. Okay, and that lady who has approached, okay, who has come to the house of Seth is actually Beloved. So but Seth wants her friends, but here what happened? But Seth wants friends. That's why Beloved seduces Paul D. Garner, but finally Paul D. live peacefully here. So this is about the story of Beloved. And Beloved is the strange woman who has come to stay with Seth, whereas Seth has killed 16 years ago her infant daughter, hmm, hmm, and now it's seeking friendship. That's why she had accepted the friendship of beloved and was trying to stay with beloved at her own house. Another important word is judge. Another important word is judge. Here, J-A-Z, judge. Judge that is published in 1992. Well, uses here call and call and call and response. Calls and response style of jazz music. Style of jazz music. Jazz music. Okay. Call and response styles of jazz music. Okay. Next move to the next important work, that is Paradise. You know the Paradise is the second novel of the Dantesque trilogy that is published in the year 1997. 1990, where Ruby, after the town on which the book centers. Okay, so here Ruby is the name of the town where the novel centers. Ruby. Now the next important work is here a Mercy. A Mercy. So Mercy that was published in 2008. Okay, this is there are four women actually. There are four women. That is Rebecca, the woman slave owning and owns three slaves. Rebecca wants a blacksmith to cure her smallpox here. So a mercy is about four women here, and main women is here Rebecca, the woman slave owning, and she owns here three slaves actually. And now Rebecca is wanting a blacksmith to cure her smallpox. So Mercy is another novel that was published in the year 2008. Another important work is you have that essay that was written by an important essay written by Toni Morrison. Each plays in the dark. Plays in the plays in the dark. Whiteness and literary whiteness and literary whiteness and literary imagination imagination Finance and Literary Imagination, published in the year 1992 here. So this is the essay Plays in the Dark of Finance and Literary Imagination. So this is actually a series of letters delivered at Harvard University. So a series of letters, what series of letters, letters that were delivered that were delivered hmm, delivered at where? At Harvard University. At Harvard University. So this is the famous essay written by Toni Morrison is here, that Plays in the Dark of Wideness and Literary Imagination, published in the year 1992. So this was all about Toni Morrison. The next important author of Afro-American literature is Zora Neale Hurston. It's Zora Neale Hurston. Zora Neale Hur. So actually, she depicted the rural. She has depicted actually. She has depicted the rural South. The rural South. The rural South, and she was a part of. She was a part of what? Harlem Renaissance, and she was a part of Harlem Renaissance. Harlem Harlem Renaissance. Okay, so the part of Harlem Renaissance. So she has depicted in her writings the rural South, and she was a part of Harlem Renaissance. And what was Harlem Renaissance? Harlem Renaissance was an intellectual, social, and artistic explosion centered in Harlem, that is New York City. So Harlem was in New York City, spanning in the 1920s. Okay, so first it was named as New Harlem Renaissance. What it was also at first it was named as New Negro Movement. New Negro Movement. 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 Okay. Here, Etonville, the hometown, is referred many times in her novel. So Etonville, Tonville. Etonville is the hometown of Zora Neale Hurston, and there is many a time you will find that there are the references of Etonville in her work by Zora Neale Hurston. Okay, she has also written poems here, poem as well as novels. Okay, now three poems published in the New Negro, three poems published in the New Negro, the New Negro. Okay, this is a collection of New Negro. In that uh, New Negro collection of poetry, there are three poems published. One is Journey's End, one is Journey's End. Okay, the second one is Night, the second one is Night, and the third one is Passion, and the third one is Passion. Okay, she has also written. So here the New Negro, in that New Negro there are Journeys End, Night, Passion were published. Okay, and she has also written short stories like Spunk, 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 and Sweat. These are short stories. Okay, these are short stories. These are short stories written by Zora Neale Hurston. Spunk and Sweat. Spunk and Sweat. Okay. Now her famous important novels are here. Jonas Gardvine. Jonas Gardvine was the first uh, important work written by Zora Neale Hurston. Jonas Gard, G-U-A-R-D, Jonas Gardvine, the first important work. Jonas Gardvine, and it is actually a semi-autobiographical novel. Semi-autobiographical, semi-autobiographical novel written by Zora Neale Hurston, Jonas Gard. Hmm. And the second important novel is actually Mules and Men. Mules. What? Mules and Men, published in the year 1935. It is actually a collection of tales. It is actually a collection of tales. It's a tale actually, collection of tales. Okay, and her trips to Eatonville and Polk Country, Florida. Hmm. And this is autobiographical collection of folklore actually. Here, autoethnographical collection of folklore. So it is actually Mules and Men, that is published in the year 1935. It is a collection of tale here. Hmm. And in this work, you will find there is the reference of her trip to Eatonville and Polk Country, Florida. Okay, and it is an auto-ethnicity graphical collection of folklore. Moving to the next important work is Their Eyes Were Watching God. Their eyes were their eyes were watching God. This is the most important work. Their eyes were watching God. Their eyes were watching God is the most important work written by him, 1937. Okay, here a classic of the Harlem Renaissance of 1920s. A lot of literary reviewers also has dismissed this novel because this novel depicts an independent African women. Okay, so their eyes were watching God actually, and it is set in central and southern Florida, where the main character is Jane, is Jenny Crawford. Jenny Crawford. Okay, Jenny Crawford is the main character who is independent here, who is here independent, an African American woman in her 40s who wants to find true love. And Nancy, her grandmother, arranges Jenny to marry Logan Killisek. And after their marriage, Jenny runs away with a man, Joe Starks, okay, who dies later. And Jenny here again falls in love with Tea Cake. So Jenny here again falls in love with Tea Cake. Tea Cake. But one day Jenny finally shoots him with a rifle in self-defense and is charged with murder. Okay. At the trial, Tea Cake's black male friends show up to oppose her, but a group of local white women arrive to support Jenny, and she is freed. And also she returns to Eatonville. Okay, here. So this is the independent women here. This is the story of here Jenny Crawford. Jenny Crawford is the main protagonist of that novel. That is Their Eyes Were Watching God. So now another important work is Moses, Man of the Mountain. Moses, Man of the Mountain. Man of the Mountain is another important work published 1939. Moses, Man of the Mountain novel is here rewrites the story of the book of the Exodus of Moses and the Israelites. So here is the another autobiography here. Dust Tracks on a Road. Dust, that is dust tracks, okay, on a road. published in the year 1942. Okay, and she has also written along with Langston Hughes. So in collaboration with Langston Hughes, so you have Zora Neale Hurston plus Langston Hughes. They have collaboratively, in collaboration, they have written what, that is Mulebone, a play. They have written a play that is they have written a play that is Mulebone, Mulebone, and its subtitle is a comedy of negritude, a comedy of negritude, a comedy of negritude. Okay, so where the characters like Jim Weston, a guitarist and a Methodist, Dave Carter, a dancer and a Baptist, Daisy is a domestic servant here. So Mulebone, a comedy of negritude, comedy of Negro life, a comedy of Negro life is the, it is not, sorry, Negro, it is not negritude, it is actually a comedy of Negro life, a comedy of Negro life. Okay. Now, her non-fiction work is the most famous non-fiction work is Barakun, Baracon, Barakun, the story of the last black cargo, the story of the last black cargo. The story Baracun, Baracon, the story of the last black cargo, that was written by here Zora Neale Hurston. This is the non-fictional work by Zora Neale Hurston. Okay. Now comes to here another famous short story writer is here, and is Alice Walker. Alice Walker. Okay. Now Alice Walker was born in the year 1944. So now, actually, Alice Walker has coined the term womanism. She has coined the term. She has coined the term called but womanism. So womanism was coined by whom? Womanism was coined by Alice Walker, and she was actually engaged in civil rights movement, sexism, womanism, racism, isolations, and these are all okay, yeah, themes here. Okay, okay. Now the first work is here, the third life of Grant Copeland. What? The third life of the or the third life, Life, third life of Grant Copeland, Grance, Grant Copeland, Grant Copeland. This is the third life of Grant Copeland. This is the opening. This is the first work. This is the first work of Alice Walker here. It is said in Georgia. Grant Copeland, a farmer who is a farmer actually, is forced to leave his land and his family to head north, and Brownfield is his son actually. So third life of Grant Copeland. Another important work is here Meridian, MERE, Meridian. Okay, Meridian, published in the year 1976. Okay, it has been described as workers' in meditation on the modern civil rights movement. So Meridian is actually, it has been described as, that is meditation, that is meditation on the modern civil rights movement, civil rights. Okay, modern civil rights movement. Okay, movement. Okay, and the novel is about here Meridian Hill. Meridian Hill is the main protagonist here, MERE, Meridian Hill. And where Meridian Hill is the protagonist of that novel. Okay, protagonist of the novel, Meridian Hill, and a young black woman who is attending college, as she embraces the civil rights movement, and she is a student of the fictitious Saxon College. She is the student of a fictitious Saxon College. So what is about the story is about here Meridian Hill. Now she is attending a college, and she becomes actually romantically involved with another activist called Truman Helt. Okay, but the famous work of Alice Walker is the color purple. The color purple. The color purple. Okay, the color purple published 1982. 1982. Okay, the color purple. The Color Purple, it is actually a epistolary novel. Epistolary, this is an epistolary novel. And for this work, okay, she has been awarded with the Pulitzer Prize. She got the Pulitzer Prize for this work. Pulitzer Prize. For fiction, Pulitzer Prize for fiction. Okay, and the National Book Award for fiction. Okay, and you know that Color Purple actually has comes from a character named Sag Avery. Okay, the Color Purple. Okay, actually this title has come from the character called Sag Sug Sag Avery. A V E R Y A V E R Y. That is Sag Avery. Okay, who says that I think it pieces got off if you walk by with color purple. Basically color purple here is here signifying the rights of women here. So what does the color purple signifies here? Color purple actually signal color purple is actually signifying what? It's the rights of rights, RIGST, the rights of women, rights of women. Okay. Now once Alice Walker had written that womanist is actually womanist womanist is to feminist womanist is to feminist as purple is to lavender. Womanist is to feminist as purple is to lavender is to lavender. So now the plot is about the book actually is following the life of Celia, is life of Celia, Silie, Celia, okay, who is writing a series of letters in which she is actually speaking about her problems and addresses to God and her sister to Nettie, who has moved to Africa. So here Celia is writing a series of letters addressing to God and her sister Nettie, addressed to God and her sister Nettie. Nettie, where does Nettie live now? Nettie actually is now living in Africa. Okay, and Celia here is a 14 years old, has been constantly raped by her stepfather, who is a 14 years old. Now she has been constantly raped by her stepfather, and due to this, she has two children, and Olivia and Adam. Now Celia is 20 years old, married Mr. Dash, but Mr. Dash has an extramarital affair with Sag Avery. We find lesbianism between Sag Avery and Celia in this novel here. So Mr. Dash used to hide the letters of Nettie that Nettie had sent from Africa, but Sag Avery helps Celia to find those hidden letters of Nettie, and Celia came to know that her children has been uh, adopted. Okay, here by Samuel and Corinne, with whom Nettie lives in West Africa. Now finally Celia leaves Mr. Dash and moves with Sag Avery. Now Samuel and Nettie married and have come with Adam and Olivia to America, and they are now united at last. So Harpo, Mrs. Dash's earliest previous son, who married Sophia, and she is sentenced to 12 years in jail. Sag is actually a manly woman who speaks her mind and very brave. So here Sag Avery is the main protagonist. From she used to speak about that I think it pieces God off if you walk by with color purple, and this is how the title of the novel comes. Another work is by Alice Walker is Possessing the Secret of My Joy. Possessing the Secret of My Joy. Possessing possessing the secret secret of my joy, possessing the secret of my joy. Okay, in this novel, okay, Alice Walker had said that okay, torture is not my culture. Torture is not my culture. Okay, last work is Temple of My Familiar. Temple of My Familiar. Temple of My Familiar. It was published in the year 1989. So in this video I have discussed three important writers of Afro-American literature.